What drives someone to give up their life for what they believe in? The story of James the Apostle, from simple fisherman to history-changing martyr, challenges everything we think we know about conviction and sacrifice.
That's such a powerful transformation. What exactly led him from fishing nets to becoming one of Jesus' closest disciples?
Well, James was part of this incredibly select inner circle. Just him, Peter, and John. They witnessed some of the most profound moments in Jesus' ministry, like the Transfiguration on the mountaintop and the Agony in the garden. You know what's fascinating? Historical records suggest he was actually nicknamed Son of Thunder because of his fiery temperament.
So he wasn't always this calm, spiritual figure people might imagine?
Not at all. His mother actually approached Jesus asking if James and his brother could sit at positions of power in Jesus' kingdom. They were thinking about earthly glory, completely missing the point of Jesus' message at first.
That's really interesting, because it shows such a human side to these historical figures. How did he end up becoming the first apostolic martyr?
So here's where it gets politically complex. Around 44 AD, Herod Agrippa I, grandson of Herod the Great, decided to crack down on the early Christian church. Historical sources indicate he specifically targeted James, having him executed by sword, likely to gain favor with the Jewish authorities.
Hmm, that must have sent shockwaves through the early Christian community.
You know what's really fascinating? Rather than suppressing the movement, James's martyrdom actually strengthened it. There's this famous quote from Tertullian that, "The blood of martyrs is the seed of the church." And we can trace this effect directly back to James's death.
That seems so counterintuitive to our modern way of thinking. Why would persecution strengthen rather than weaken a movement?
Well, think about it. Here's someone who personally knew Jesus, who had walked and talked with him for years, choosing death over denying his beliefs. That kind of conviction tends to make people take notice. And historical records show that the early Christian church actually grew faster during periods of persecution.
Speaking of his influence, I've heard there are some remarkable traditions about James in Spain.
Oh yes, the Camino de Santiago. This ancient pilgrimage route to his supposed burial site in Santiago de Compostela has been active since medieval times. Get this, over 350,000 people still make this pilgrimage every year. It's become this incredible symbol of spiritual journey and personal transformation.
That's quite a legacy for someone who started as a fisherman in Galilee.
And here's what I find most compelling about his story. It's this universal theme of transformation. Like, how does someone go from seeking power and glory to being willing to die for their beliefs? Historical sources suggest it wasn't an overnight change, but a gradual process of deep conviction.
That really makes you think about what we're willing to stand for in our own lives.
Exactly. And you know what's particularly relevant today? In an era where beliefs often shift with social media trends, James's story raises some uncomfortable questions about conviction. What would we be willing to sacrifice for what we believe in?
That's a challenging question for our modern context, isn't it?
It really is. And here's another fascinating aspect. James's death marked this crucial turning point in early Christian history. It showed followers that their faith might literally cost them their lives. Yet historical records indicate that the church grew exponentially during these periods of intense persecution.
So, what you're saying is that opposition often strengthens deeply held beliefs, rather than weakening them.
Precisely. And this pattern has repeated throughout history. When people are willing to die for their beliefs, it tends to make others take those beliefs more seriously. James's story isn't just about religious martyrdom. It's about the power of genuine conviction to change the course of history.
That's quite a thought to end on. How one person's unwavering conviction can ripple through centuries.
And maybe that's the real legacy of James. Not just as a religious figure, but as someone who shows us what it means to fully commit to what you believe in, regardless of the cost. In our age of casual commitments and shifting loyalties, that's something worth thinking about.